about the Jets? You look at the Jets' depth chart, you look at their roster. Obviously, you've watched them play here doing their game in the preseason.
Yeah.
Can they, I don't know, you trust Saleh, Wilson gets back healthy. Can they actually be a competitive team that maybe has an outside chance to make the playoffs?
I think that might be pushing it, but I do think they're going to be a much better equipped team to compete. And that was the concern last year. There were just certain games where it was over pretty early, and you knew it. And I don't think that's going to be the case this year. First, you got to start winning in your division. They've gone 2 straight years. They haven't won a division game. So it's hard to talk playoffs. It's hard to talk about that level. I don't blame anybody for throwing it out there. Teams should feel good about what they've got. Optimism permeates throughout the offseason, into OTAs, into training camp, because it's new, it's different, it's fresh. And because they have so many new players, I think there was an injection of confidence that this team could come together and form a little something. But they're playing in a division where Buffalo is going to be a tough out. New England, as we know, even though it hasn't looked good right now, they problem solve. They figure it out. They determine what kind of team they are, and then they commit to it. And then Miami, one of the real wild cards in the NFL this year as to is it going to translate what we see on paper to the field. Offensive guy at the head coaching position now that is very creative and different. He views the game differently, and even just how he handles his bedside manner with his players. It's different. It's unique. You can catch lightning in a bottle sometimes with those situations where you're like, oh, man, this works. These guys love him. They perform for him. Or we've seen other times where it just doesn't have any stability or standing power. So if you're the Jets, a lot of it falls on Zach Wilson when he gets back healthy and how this team responds to him. And if he shows true improvement in year 2, not making the same mistakes that he was making in year 1. Even the injury, I really think, and I felt this as it happened, he throws a pick on the opening series after all of the goodwill during the offseason. They play Philadelphia. It's a game that means nothing. We understand that. But there are opinions formed because of it. He throws a pick on the first series, and the second series, he just tries to make a little something happen because of what happened on the first series. And that's a young quarterback in his own mind. I got to make something happen. So instead of just going down or darting out of bounds, he makes a cut upfield, and it costs him, what are we looking at now? A month, and questions as to whether or not he's going to be back for week 1 or week 2 or week 3. So I just think those factors often are not necessarily tangible. It's stuff that you don't know about a player and a person until they're in that moment. And we just don't know yet with Zach Wilson if he can be that guy.
All right, only a couple more minutes left with Ian Eagle, CBS Sports, among others. I just want to ask you, I'll ask it this way. So I am one of the few net guys here. I think Evan, Keith McPherson, of course. I am very much looking forward to this season, believe it or not. How would you characterize this offseason, though, and what are your thoughts about what they can be? Because I've said this many times. I just want to see these guys play together for a full season one time. Weird offseason. What have your thoughts been as we've gone through the summer?
Yeah, there's definitely that moment where you say, how did we get here? How did this happen?
Yes.
So the smoke clears, and Kevin Durant is still a net, and Kyrie Irving is still a net, and Ben Simmons is still a net, and Joe Harris is still a net, and I can go on. And there are new faces and new players and maybe a new vibe with this team. The way I look at it is clearly last year was uncomfortable at times. It didn't play out the way that they thought. They traded away one of the great players in the NBA, James Harden, who everybody thought, oh, this is the big three. They're going to be together for years. They'll have a chance to win multiple championships. Obviously, it wasn't working. He wasn't happy. He wanted out. The team made the determination to deal him. They felt it had gotten to the point where it was irreparable, the relationship. The Durant stuff comes a little bit out of left field. You could tell that he wasn't pleased come playoff time, but when the initial statement came out that he wanted to be dealt, and the breaking news NBA reporters had dueling reports, that's when the bottom dropped out, and everybody said, wait, is this where the team is at? So now here we are. Obviously, the lines of communication have been a lot better, and I think that was the first step. There just had to be a meeting of the minds at some point where everybody put it all out there and they could get to a place where this now can continue. Now, is it going to be more comfortable this year because people have said what they needed to say, or is that air of awkwardness still there? That part we don't know. I know they have a lot of talent. I know that if you have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on your team, you have a chance to win a bunch of games. But how this group comes together, how they gel with Steve Nash as the head coach, it's a burning question once again. And I can't say definitively that, oh, no, it's going to be so much better this year. We don't know. And I'm not sure they know. So you got to keep an eye on how this team starts and whether or not everybody seems committed to making this thing work. Kyrie Irving, this is a contract year, guys.
Yep.
He recognizes what that means in the NBA. He is a maximum talent player. The question is, will he be given maximum money for that? And the only person that can determine that is him. If he has a huge season, he will get rewarded. If they have playoff success, he will be rewarded, whether it's with the Nets or somebody else. So it's in his best interest to have one of his best years. And if he does, the team benefits, Durant benefits, Ben Simmons benefits, and maybe we're having a different conversation in our annual talk next year.
Yeah, and, I'm torn here, Ian. I brought this up, I think, last year with you, or maybe it was a couple of years. Who knows which year of this annual journey we're on here it was. But my disdain for Evan always trumped my love for Ian with the Nets. But now I've got an issue here because I love Ian, I love Jerry, I love Chris Carino, but it's you three versus Evan and McPherson. I can't stand the net fanboy in those two. But I do think, because of my love for you and Chris Carino and Jerry, I may be nicer to the Nets this year. I think I'm in with you guys.
Yes, you're Tom Hulse in Animal House. You have a devil and you have an angel on each shoulder, and you just don't know what to do. I get it.
Help me.
This is a bind. I can't. Help me help you. I can't. This is your journey, Sal.